remove the sound. Got it. This meeting is being live streamed. Setting you up.
So this is the October, sorry, not October yet, September 27th, 2023.
Yes.
We're having another Sage user meeting where I talk about some of the features that are rolling out. So I've been busy working on getting the designer.
So what is Sage, Dave, before we get ahead of ourselves? What is Sage?
For those tuning in for the first time, Sage is supposed to be the Uber permaculture garden design app. So for the web. So it'll allow you to kind of take all those concepts you may have learned about in terms of a diverse, trying to grow like nature intended, where you're basically just designing, you're a shepherd of nature, designing elements that they work cohesively with each other. So permaculture has been around since the 1970s, but when you actually, one of the barriers that a lot of people have is that they're inspired by it, they learn about it, but then when it comes to the actual practical implementation of it, it becomes too overwhelming for them. So what we've tried to do is take a holistic approach to, we've seen other garden apps out there, but they usually focus on one aspect, a planting calendar, or maybe designing the layout of your garden, but they don't integrate all these things into one piece of software. So what we're trying to do is make that piece of software, and then at the same time also build a community online so that people worldwide can kind of contribute their observations and information and data, and then everybody can kind of benefit from that, so that we build up a rich agricultural heritage for the 21st century.
Yay! I love that. Thanks for summing that up. And yeah, permaculture, Sage is a permaculture garden design app, and it is there to take away the headache of growing your own food successfully. So Dave is going to walk us through, well, first, what do we do in permaculture theoretically? Like when we look at a property, how do we analyze it? How do we draw out our properties? How do we map our properties, our backyards, and our gardens into a space that is ecologically sound, that's going to be planned for abundance, that we have a big harvest from? How do we do that? So tonight, Dave, if you want to share your screen.
Yeah, good segue into designing your garden. So the first thing that typically you'll learn when in a permaculture course, when you're looking at your property, you kind of have this blank canvas. So the methodology to kind of start. Oh, Andrea just popped in.
Yep. Go, keep going.
So I think we have it on. Let me just disable the waiting room so that everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking, kind of rewinding a little bit and taking a step out, because look at your property again. Last time we talked about guilds and how you can make a plant grouping based off the function of each of the plants. But now we're going to be taking a look at sector map analysis. If you go to this link here, bit.ly sector-map analysis.
It leads you to
called 10 crucial steps, but it's really all about how to look at your property and figure out where things are going to go and what kind of energy is flowing through your property and how you can take advantage of that to kind of intelligently design and maximize the spaces that you have on your property. So the agenda for today, I'm going to go through kind of a quick sector map analysis just to talk about how you would do this on paper, because over the next few sessions, I'm going to be implementing this in Sage. And then at some point, we'll be doing this online, maybe together in a kind of a Sage workshop, just to see whether we can do exactly the same things that we're doing on paper in Sage. Do a very, very quick look at the current state of the Sage Designer. There's a lot of work, so it's still a work in progress. So it's more like just a quick look, and then we're going to look at the Sage Guilds functionality, which is kind of out there for people to play around with now. So we'll talk about how getting more and more perennial data into the system, the Sage database is going to make that more useful for everybody. And then we'll take bugs and feedback and questions from everybody's user experiences. So just to start off with, I guess I should put on present. That would be.
Hey, Andrea, and it's nice to see you here. Did you have any specific questions about Sage, or have you tried it, or is there anything confusing? What did you want to get out of tonight's Sage sector map analysis design presentation?
I want to try Sage again. I haven't tried it since y'all been updating it.
Uh-huh. Great. I'll put the link to log in the chat in case you lost that link, and yeah, I'll take it from there.
So what we try to do with these sessions is just have a little bit of theory, and then we go into the actual software, just so that regardless of where things are in development, we're not repeating ourselves, and we give a kind of a little bit of theory as well. So when you're doing a sector map analysis, the first thing to do is you kind of think of your home as the center of your universe. And then if you think of your property, it doesn't have to be perfect circles, but you think of around your property, you think about where you go most often. So, for example, your back porch might be zone 0. And then the places that you go to very infrequently in your property would be zone 5. So it's just a way to kind of break up the geographical areas in your property into where you're going, because when you start designing your garden, you want to be putting the things that need a lot of maintenance, a lot of care into those things that are closer to your house. And those things that you might not need to look at very often, these might be nut trees or trees that don't need a lot of maintenance, or just a wildlife area. You would put them in further away from your property. So in addition to that, when you draw the zones around your house, and try to figure out like the zone 0, zone 1. But now once you have that basic zones around your house, it's kind of useful. This isn't really mentioned much in permaculture design, but it's kind of useful to start breaking up those zones into little areas. There might be already things growing there, but it's just useful to name these things something and give a kind of rough idea of where they are, their kind of primary function. As you can see in here, once you put access and think about how you're going to be getting to your different zones. It's just nice to be able to break those things up into small areas that you've given a name to, because then you can say, okay, now I'm going to be focusing on the shady walk or the backyard kitchen garden. So it just helps to kind of organize all your design and thoughts about the area. One of the
That's a
things
great tip. That's a great tip, Dave. I'm trying to take notes too, because some of the things that you teach like are different from the way I teach it. And that is definitely a tip that I just take for granted sometimes. And like, of course, you're going to name it a little, this is the Berry Guild or whatnot. So I think that that is a great tip that I'm going to pass along to other people to our membership as well. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I actually find that if you give a really good name to an area, then you've already invested some part of yourself into that area. So then you'll
Yeah,
it's weird. You'll actually take more attention when you think about that part of your garden.
I love that. Thanks, Dave.
So the next thing you want to do, so this is kind of abbreviated. We have a workshop called 10 Crucial Steps where we go through an awful lot of permaculture tips and design philosophy for applying permaculture. I've kind of condensed this tonight into like 3 steps. So the first one is, just drawing your zones of use. But another thing that you want to be thinking about when you're thinking about your property is there's energy that flows through your property, and the 3 big forces of nature that are going to move through your property and affect your garden usually are the sun, the wind, and the water. So when you're thinking about your property, you can think about the sunny areas, shady areas. You can think about where the wind is blowing. The prevailing wind is going to move usually from one direction on your property through to the other side. And then if you have any kind of elevation in your property, there's going to be water flowing, not just rain that falls on the property, but there's going to be water moving through your land. And thinking about the patterns of how that water flows through your land can kind of help you figure out also, which areas are in the way of the water or could take advantage of that. So think of one of the questions you should ask yourself is, how does the energy interact with your areas? So I have just a quick kind of like suggestions on things to do to identify. You should go through your list of your areas and then think about the energy flow through that area and then how you would describe that. So, for example, if you had an area that was quite flat, but it was exposed and it got a lot of sun, then it would be sunny, but it might be windy and it might be dry. So you're trying to think of all the energy that flows through that area, because it'll help you figure out the kind of plants that like that, might like those conditions. And then it helps you group the plants. You don't want to be putting plants in an area that doesn't make sense in terms of the energy flowing through that area. This is kind of like a more advanced question, but you can also think about some ways you could capture that energy. In most cases, this is largely going to be water capture or sequestration, because plants really like having water. The most productive gardens on earth are usually, there's quite a lot of water in those gardens. So what you want to do is you don't want the water to be damaging, where it's actually flowing through too quickly or it's creating a bog. So you want to divert the water in a way where it's moving, it's not stagnating, but it's moving through your gardens kind of in a winding the longest path that you can divert the water through your property so that it passes through all your garden areas. The final kind of quick part of permaculture sector map analysis I'm going to talk about is microclimates. So we talked about the energy flow, but this doesn't just happen at the macro level. It can happen on the micro level. So within a specific area, there might be a collection of rocks that collect more sun. So anything that grows near that collection of rocks, it's a little hotter than anything else in that area. There might be your house is quite a big barrier. So on different sides of your house, there are probably going to be different microclimates. You might even see that your soil differs from one place to another because the water has moved the soil in a certain way so that the minerals accumulate in one part of your garden. So this is the townhouse that we used to live in. Just an example, when you're thinking about an area, you can have a lot of microclimates in one single area. So in the front of our yard, you can see we had 7 microclimates, and you could grow different things in those microclimates. So we actually had a fig tree in the sunny, dry part of the area, but then there were parts by the stairs there that got more shade. So you could grow pretty much different crops that you couldn't grow in the sunny area. So the purpose of all of this is to kind of get a better idea of the environment that you've got, the different little environments that are in your gardens, that you can figure out once you have a plant list where things should live in your garden. And this is kind of an incomplete slide, but once you've got all of those environments mapped out, then you basically want to start mapping your plant list that you have, and you have information about each of the plants. So you want to start mapping that with the area. And I'll talk more about this in later presentations, but there's things like the aesthetic that you want to think about, like if the area is exposed to neighbors, is it more formal. We had, in the previous session, we had designed guilds. We talked about how you design a guild. So if you've done that and you have a list of guilds, it makes the job of assigning plants to different areas easier, because then you just assign a whole guild to that area, and all the groups of plants that make up that guild just come along with that. And then another thing is, when you're thinking about, like, do I want this to be more of a production garden where I'm growing annual vegetables versus a perennial where it's more sustainable? It's more, you have to think about, perennials are going to be more permanent. So in that respect, they're a little harder to design with, but they're also not as fragile. So once you get them established, they are probably going to be more productive in terms of giving you harvests. So it's that kind of trade-off of, do you want to just do perennials or annuals or some kind of mix of those things? So that's my sector map analysis in 10 minutes.
Wow. We should have just presented this way from the start instead of me seeing the 10 crucial steps. No, oh, Lauren, don't worry. I'm so happy to see you here. I know it's so tough, especially at your kid's age, to even make it here. But I hope this is helpful. So Dave just went through to recap.
Okay.
Three things. Oh, right, Dave, if I got it right.
Yeah, 3 things. So we talked about, do you have the link in the chat?
Oh, the link to the
the bit.ly
Workbook?
for the
Oh,
workbook. Yeah.
okay. Yes, the work. I'll put the link in the chat, and you go ahead and tell us what the three things were.
So we talked about sector map analysis. That's one of the aspects when you're doing permaculture, is to look at your property, kind of take a step back and divide your property into areas based off how frequently you go to those areas and the energy that's flowing through the property. So I talked a little bit about microclimates. There were three things.
Zones of use.
Zones of use, yeah. And what was the third one?
Zones of use, flow of energy. Is that your microclimates, or is it different?
I guess it's different. It's like local climate. It's in your 10
Yeah.
steps.
So
I know
local
your
climate.
microclimate too. Know
Right,
your
right. So you know it. Yes. You know it already. Well, if you know the 10 crucial steps and you remember it, one of the tips that Dave I just wanted to, because I did think that was cool, is just to go into the zones and then to name, like, have sub zones. And I thought, like, not
Yeah,
sub
let me bring it up
areas
again
within zones.
quickly.
Because I think that's where the design sort of can begin. And even if you're not, some people think like, well, how can I make the whole property? Like, how can I draw the whole property? And I think what we can do is we can start first within a zone that is more, necessary. So my teacher always said, start with zone 0, start with zone 1. But then at the same time, if you're trying, some people, if they have a big property like us and Dave, he wanted to get the production gardens done right away. So that's like zone 4 in our area. But he wanted to get done right away.
What we did was we kind of drew a boundary of the production garden, and now we're in the process of subdividing that into smaller areas. So we have things like oak guild, lookout area, research beds, spiritual prayer garden.
Within the zone 4.
Yeah.
So now that we've named
production garden.
Yes. And now that we've named those, I'm trying to see if I put it in here in my notes. And now that we've named those zones, it makes it easier for us to attack them and say, this is the zone here. If I may screen share for just a second, there. So here's, for instance, our zone 4. So within the zone 4, we have, well, what would you say? This is zone 4 here, and this is zone 5. So within the zone 4, we probably have 3 elements where we have these 4, 8, 9, 10, 11 beds.
Well, I would say the whole production garden is probably like a zone 2. Because
really?
We're probably going to visit it
more often, even though it's so far away. Okay, so for David, zone 2, because you visit it every day. Yes,
as opposed to the forest in the back, which
we don't really visit this as much, for sure. Okay, so zone 2, then you have the research beds here, and so on and so forth. So I think that's when you guys get into designing, that might be something that'll help break it down even more, so you know where to start and you don't feel like I need to design the whole like picture right away.
Just in terms of the hierarchy of assigning plants, you can do that area delineation first, and then later on you can start you can focus on a specific area and figure out the specific plants for that area. You don't have to have your master plant list and try to map it all out at the same time, because it will change. You'll find some things you thought were going to work after you observe them, and your plant dies in that area that it should live somewhere else. And the reason kind of I'm talking about this is we're gradually, not quite there yet, but in Sage, we're going to be gradually trying to build these design principles. Okay, so the next part of the agenda is to show a very quick screenshot. Let's see. So this is not in production yet. So this is kind of like a 5-minute. But I now have the old, I had an app called the Designer. The old grow my own food, right? So I've kind of integrated that into Sage now. You can add plants, but it's too rough right now, and it doesn't integrate with the other parts of Sage right now. So it's probably going to be another 2 weeks before I put this in production. But I just wanted to kind of show that it's going to be an overhead 2D view of your garden. There's going to be, I can't currently show it, but you're going to be able to have different layers. So you'll have a layer for your contours, a layer or your backgrounds, like if you want to show soil or grass. Then there'll be a layer for your beds. There'll be a layer for your structures, so that you can choose to interact with one of those layers at a time, so that when you're dragging plants around, you're not also dragging your house around. You'll be able to switch between those different layers. Other than that, it's the size of these icons is going to be scaled to the size of the plant, just to give an approximate idea of when you're starting to put these in, and you're trying to figure out the space in your garden. So the big thing is that this will map to the My Plants area. So all the information with the seasonal data, the planting dates, all of that information, you'll be able to go back and forth between the two things and see them. So I'll talk more about the Designer next time when it's a little bit more mature and I've managed to finish some of the integration. So the next thing I want to show, before I go any further, does anybody have any suggestions or questions about the Designer part?
I have a suggestion. I already put it in the bugs board. So if anybody does have any questions or suggestions, if you go to Sage, if you go to the Sage page on the website, which is permaculturegardens.org/sage, there is a space for putting in your suggestions, and then Dave or I take it every Monday, and then we put it on the project board that you see below that feedback form, and that way we're improving it according to what everybody needs or wants to see. So one of my suggestions that I already put in the bug board, Dave, is, you know how you see that tomato icon? So if maybe you or somebody or anybody who wants to volunteer who's watching this wants to find like Canva icons that have these kind of, when we made this, there was no Canva. Canva wasn't as developed as it was now. Remember when you started making this, like, I don't know, 5 years ago? And I think Canva now has a lot of nice, and we weren't even using Canva for these little icons, or maybe we were, but they, like that tomato, that looks like such a great icon compared to the basil that has the background with it. That's all. That's my feedback.
Yeah, I think when I had done this, I actually got these as 3D models, and then just got a 2D view of the 3D model. So my dream, this is probably next year sometime, but my dream is making this 3D and getting, there's things you can put on your phone now where you can go around an object and it'll generate a 3D mesh of that object. So I would love to be able to get a few of those things and generate 3D models of all the permaculture plants. And that way you could create a 3D map of your garden and get a much better idea of the aesthetic. It's very, I mean, this helps with kind of space planning and positioning, but it doesn't give you any kind of like, it's pretty or it's ugly. So I think that's important. So we'll gradually, things will evolve.
So this version of the Sage that we will put out before the Kickstarter is that people will be receiving who support the Kickstarter will be 2D, but the Kickstarter is we're raising funds in the Kickstarter to support the development of one of the many changes or upgrades to what we have in Sage right now will be a 3D view of your garden, not just a 2D view when it comes to the designer. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, so mostly at this point, I'm just getting things to work the way they did when it was a standalone app. And then just replacing a lot of the icons because the library that I was using for this is slightly dated and doesn't work well with the rest of Sage. So all the buttons and things like that will start to, if you look on the left, it just looks a lot cleaner than on the right. You can see this. So just getting a lot of those buttons and dialogues and things like that to have a consistent Sage look and feel.
Probably shouldn't be volunteering my husband for things, but he is a user experience person and a design technologist, and he also tinkers with like 3D modeling of things, and he makes really cute stuff, usually for like video games that not like in any big scale, but like hobby projects. Anyway, I might volunteer him later if you need help for for making.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
He has to be a masochist like us because it's more of a passion thing.
I know.
Does he have a 3D model camera, like the cameras that?
Not a camera, but like I know he's done like he has whatever software thing because he'll make like, look, a 3D house or like a lamppost or various kinds of art. But even like cute 2D art. So anyway, just something to think about.
Cute. Yes, thank you.
He'd be
It's always nice to know who else could help out.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about Sage and Permaculture Gardens really is people from the community are helping build this or helping us. There's so many parts of Sage that have been produced because of the GOI members who've helped us edit things, who've helped us promote things. So that's what it's all about. And if he's willing to do that, Dave, whenever you're ready.
So the part that I want to talk about next that isn't the production in the live version of Sage. So I'll just talk just to kind of refresh everybody and get everybody on the same page about the different parts that are already there. So the first thing that we had added was a planting calendar. And this is mostly just to kind of get notifications and to track your different events. So if you had some kind of garden event, you want to start some seeds, then you can list your contact information and it'll send texts or reminders to you, email. So the planting calendar, that's the main purpose of it, but you can also synchronize it through the crop planner. So the crop planner is kind of like a wizard to guide you through the process of you load your climate data and then you figure out the things you eat, your family eats. So for example, we like eating beets. And then the kind of quantities that you consume in a week, we might eat 3 a week. And then it gives you information. It kind of generates based off your climate data, planting windows, and then the number of plants that you should grow to get the kind of yield that you want and the kind of harvest that you're going to get. It also gives you information about whether it's a cool season crop. So you can, this is kind of like a wizard just to get you going and generate some of that information. And then you can sync that with the planting calendar or with the My Plants area. And I'll talk quickly about the My Plants next. So the My Plants is, you can kind of think that this is like your plant data central. So what we've tried to do is what I talked about in the sector map analysis. You're thinking about the parts of your garden and the areas in your garden. So it might be as straightforward as raised bed 1, raised bed 2, raised bed 3, raised bed 4, or it might be, you know, front garden or herb garden, or just the different locations in your garden and on your property. So you can add areas. Like I'll put raised bed 1. And then within that area, you have the plants that are associated with that area. So what we've done is there's different views of the same plant information. So right now we're looking at the kitchen garden. We're looking at all the seasons. So if I wanted to filter this, for example, and just look at summer, you can toggle these things and go back and forth. So we're looking at all the seasons right now. The main focus of the time space is to kind of figure out your timelines, your planting timelines for the plants that are in that area, as well as the amount of space that you need to grow those things. So for example, if I go into carrots, so you would left click on the card to drill down into the data associated with that plant. And if I open the planting dates, I can set some dates. If I synced it from the crop planner, then this would be automatically populated. But just for now, I'm just going to put some dummy dates in here just to show you. That if I think I might have to refresh here. That you get a timeline for anything where you have dates. So if I had copied from the crop planner, I would have got planting timelines for all the plants that I had copied from the crop planner. And then this, you can also play around with the space. You know, right now I'm growing 3 plants of carrots, which is not a lot. So you can see 6 ounces max per carrot. So the harvest that I'm going to get, estimated harvest is going to be like 1 pound. So maybe I want like more like 200 carrots. And you can see the harvest in the background there went to 75. So these numbers you can play around with. They're populated from a template, but the idea is that you can play around with them for your specific plant in that area, and it'll update all the calculations in terms of spacing. You know, maybe you're like, okay, I want to go a little closer, do 1 inch. So the space calculations, it's primarily you're figuring out your space and your yields, and then gradually this is a part that still needs a little bit of work, but you can enter in your harvests, and we're going to have an area where you can kind of put your observations, so you can upload your photos and things like that for that plant in the garden. And then eventually you're going to look back and at the end of the year and figure out, okay, what worked, what didn't work, you know, what were my biggest harvests, what were my biggest successes. So we're trying to collect all of that data in a kind of easy, intuitive way, so that later on you can analyze that data automatically and say, oh, you know, I thought cabbages did really well this year, but really there was watermelons that did way better if you look at the actual data. Or, you know, I started too few of this type of plant, and you can see the attrition over time. And I really need to be starting twice that number next year.
So Dave, in terms of like, you know how we have the annual harvest celebration. So now we can hold them accountable and tell them, well, you have to log your harvests in Sage. and the one with the biggest harvest wins instead of us doing the raffle.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
Because wait, does it really work? Because first your space was like NaN, like available space was NaN, but then now I see for the carrots
No, the
because you
reason
put
why
in
it
the
says
spacing, not a number.
is this one, it doesn't have anything in it.
Oh, oh, okay, okay. But the asparagus is
That's a,
there
I think
as
it's a
like a
bug. If I
dream.
put,
Oh, and there's a delete button now, so you could just delete it.
I'm trying to figure out why it's not popping up. It popped up. That one did not.
And then look, the available space became more when you deleted it.
Yeah, now it became a real value.
Oh,
I think I didn't put the number of plants in, and
yeah.
I should probably just force that as a required field.
And then you know how much more space you have left. But what was the feedback that we had? We want to know how much space.
Yeah,
Oh.
because Vivian had a case where she was using too much space, and then it was negative. And
Okay, so
like,
there should be like a
telling me
warning,
what
no
Vivian
more
had read or something.
space.
Yeah, you have no more space.
Okay.
And this is also by season. So you can see, since I have nothing in the fall, I have 50 square feet left. But I'm growing a few things in the spring. Here, I'll put a season here. I'll put it in summer, and then if you go to the summer, you can see I only have 37 square feet left.
Cool. This is so detailed. Okay.
So this is the time space view. We also have a plant family view. So we've talked about this in terms of the diversity of what you want to grow. So this is just a kind of a handy feature to make sure that you're not all the things you're growing for a season are in one of these categories. Because if you're growing just brassicas, then if cabbage loopers decide they love your garden, then you won't get that much harvest. So you want to be fairly balanced in terms of the plant families that you're growing in an area. So this is just a kind of like another view of the same plant, but you're looking at it from a different perspective. And then this is the newest one that I wanted to talk about is guild function. So I'm going to take one step back just to explain this a bit more. This is now aimed more at kind of perennials. So you're creating a guild, like a build-a-guild, but you're doing it within Sage. Right now we don't have that many perennials in the Sage database. So as it's kind of a separate pitch, we've created a spreadsheet here, and a few people have started to put in some information. So it's kind of like a community effort to generate the 200 or 300 different perennials and all the kind of associated information. So some people have already put in all the Latin names. It's been very helpful. And I'll take all this data and put it into Sage so that you can primarily when you're thinking about guilds and the designer part of it, you can actually start to use this. So let me explain this view a little bit more.
Dave, somebody put calamansi in the perennials. So that's not a perennial everywhere. It's just a perennial in like Florida.
Yeah, but you wouldn't grow calamansi as an annual anywhere, right?
I guess not.
You wouldn't grow it for 1 year and then just, oh, well, I'll just abandon
That
it.
is true. That is true.
So we've talked before about the function or the role that the plant plays in a guild grouping. So we've listed some of them. I'm not sure, as people play around with this tool, maybe we can define more roles, or they can customize the roles that they're displaying. but I've just put a few here just to indicate the kind of roles that you would want each plant to serve in a guild. And then on the right side, that same plant is going to occupy a vertical space, a niche. They call this a food forest layer. And there's traditionally 7 layers. There could be more than that, like up to 12. But if you think about this, the canopy is the top level. It's those really tall trees that reach up, hundreds of feet. Your understory trees are going to be the majority of your fruit trees, your apple trees, things like that. Shrubs would be blueberries or service berries, fig trees, things like that. Herbaceous is more like most of your annual vegetables. Ground cover is things that protect the soil, but they tend to creep and prevent erosion. Root crops are things like carrots or beets. And vining are things that actually climb up from the ground and go up maybe into the top of a canopy tree. These things can differ. Like you might have a plant that fulfills more than one function, but a plant will typically only occupy one layer in the food forest. So that's why I put this in the same view of Guild's view, is that you can't really do anything with the layers, but you can drag this around. So if you know that in your case asparagus is going to be an insectary plant, then you can actually change that. And then I think what's going to be the most powerful part of this, got a message saying I should not talk too much. So I'll just wrap this up on like 1 more minute. There's a search here where you can search by the role or the climate or the zones or the layers. And as we get more and more perennial data, I think this is going to be really helpful for people to build their own guilds. Like we have artichoke as a dynamic accumulator, or we might want to find out whether there's subtropical. Oh, I guess artichoke is also subtropical. Or the temperates that are pollinators.
You might have to, if there are more things in the database, we might have to, the view of it might have to collapse because there's infinite scroll or something like that.
Yeah, this infinite scrolls, so depending on the results. So if I had more, like if I just made it temperate, this scrolls to be whatever. So then, I can add that, and it's added it in to ground cover. So now I have insectary and ground cover. And the ultimate goal is if you can get quite a lot of these filled up and a lot of these filled up.
Cool.
So
I love it. So now we wanted to ask people.
So that's like the latest feature.
Yeah.
And then next time the designer will be a little more fleshed out. So
Thanks,
yeah, I
Dave.
just wanted to open it up now. If there's a specific thing that you love to see in Sage, and it's not there right now, and you're like, oh, this app really needs this, then.
Or if you wanted us to walk you through your own account, if you're having trouble getting in, or you have any questions, or if you want to see how would you use it, and we can do that now if you guys wanted to do that.
I need to actually just get onto Sage from a computer because I keep trying to go it on my phone. I'm like, this is not meant for this right
not yet. Yes, it's still a web app. And Dave, what's your reason for doing a web app and not a mobile app?
So I think when you do a phone app, you have to think more about I have to kind of take that superset of what the web app does and simplify it for the phone app, because for example, if you're designing your space on a tiny phone screen, the experience is never going to be very good.
Yeah.
So probably there'll be some subset. And I think when we start adding observations, it's going to make more sense.
I was gonna say, I feel like the app would be useful if you're like just with your phone out and you're like, oh, let me take a picture of how this plant is doing, or yeah, just like reporting,
Yeah.
making notes
But
to yourself from the garden. But
yeah, so I think it's in our
it makes
roadmap. But
sense.
I think just because of resource constraints, it's probably going to be a little later after we kind of wrap up the web app part, and then kind of circle back. And if there's enough interest, then I'll create a separate phone app for that. The build, it'll still use the same data. It's just a
Yeah.
different mobile version.
Yeah.
So are you able to log in? Have you?
I literally have not logged in on
Here.
a computer. Like I've logged in,
Okay.
I think on my phone, and then I was like, this is not the place, and then I just never got to my computer.
Okay, no worries. If you wanted to, if you did have any questions about that when you do log in, because I think now probably you guys not the time for you, but if you wanted to do that even separately or even ask for, and then you're having trouble at
Yeah.
all, just reach out and then we'll just schedule a time to kind of walk you through if you are having trouble. And Andrea, the same for you. Are you able to log in? Are you there now, or do you want to share your screen?
I'm not sure I can share my screen. Okay. Yeah.
You're doing it.
Yay!
Now how do I get it over? Okay. Here I am.
Yay! All right. Do you mind clicking on the green button that makes it bigger? You know, in a Mac,
Uh-huh.
the green. Yes, there we go. All right. So it's your first time using it?
For how many ever years? I don't know.
Yes, however many years, because you've seen it since when we were just doing the designer part. So Dave, tell us, where would we start if we just opened the app for the first time?
I would suggest you just as a placeholder, you just add the areas in your garden. You don't have to add
Oh,
the plants at this point,
Chili.
but I would just add all the areas. It's probably a good first step.
So like this.
And then as you have time, you can add more areas. But what I would do after that, after you've just kind of added all your areas, then I would probably suggest you go to the crop planner and start thinking about, like a season. I want to start growing stuff in the spring or the winter.
All right, and then you
And
click
then you can
next.
click next.
Where
So-
is
So yeah, I should probably have a few more details on the right side there.
On the lower right.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Y'all
can
were
see
in the
some-
way.
Now selected so now, yeah, if you add the things that you know that you want to grow, or
Oh, it's the green button that says plus add plant food. So that green button should probably be on the left, Dave.
Okay.
Okay, I'm growing cilantro. I don't know how to do this for cilantro.
So it's more like if you think about how much cilantro does your family eat a week? does it like
Um,
half a pound
This is
or
probably about 3 ounces. What do you think? It doesn't weigh that much.
you
Yeah.
can change the unit to ounces. I believe there's an ounce. Maybe.
I need to
Oh,
spell it
just
out.
three. Oh no, just
No, you
put
don't have to.
three.
Just put
Just
3 there. And
Okay.
it's in the pull down, pick,
I see. Okay.
yeah, and then click. You can add a few more things if you want.
Okay. Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, sorry, the green button again.
Uh,
The other kind of bug thing here is if you type it out and it's not the same way that it's typed from the drop down menu, then it doesn't register, right, Dave? It has to be like the same way exactly.
Yeah, there should be probably something that says this is, how when you type in the address when you're mailing stuff and then it corrects it for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So just select it from. No, you did well.
I think
You did
that
well.
one's
That was
fine.
good.
Okay.
You
If you
can
spell
select it
kale
from.
with a C, for example, then it would be confused.
There we go.
Can I change the ounces?
Oh yeah, you could change
No.
it.
Okay.
So if you
Okay.
click next,
Okay.
this just tells you your windows, your planting windows.
But it doesn't tell her fall planting window, Dave. Like when would she start it in the fall?
Well, kale, you would start October.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
this one
there it
says
is.
it, but this doesn't. But I planted it anyway. So
Mhm.
it doesn't.
You can change it. Yeah, it
Yeah,
can
you
be
can change
changed.
it after. This
It
is
can be
just to
changed
kind of like,
later in the calendar or in your areas. You could change it later. This is just like, how is this pulled, calculated?
so and this is kind of crazy when you look at carrots. You can basically grow carrots for 9 months of the year. So if you got
Mhm.
7 carrots a week for those 9 months, you need 238 carrots, and you could generate 90 pounds of carrots.
Now you don't have to plant them all at once, of course.
Right. You wouldn't
You
want
could
to.
stagger them. Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah,
wouldn't.
the problem is this doesn't yet show succession planting, but it just gives you a kind of a rough idea. So
Mhm.
if you go to the next now, so this is where you can sync it. So you can say all those plants that you just selected, I want to copy them to my kitchen garden. So you would click the checkbox next to kitchen garden, and then you press the create plants. So it's gone ahead and done that.
Can I
don't know.
do this one too?
Yeah, so
Yes.
that'll generate reminders for you. Now, if you go back to the My Plants tab on the left, you can select that all the way up at the top.
Okay. What do you up here?
Yes.
And you open up the kitchen garden now.
How do I do that?
You just click on the name there. So now you
Oh,
have your plants, and it's copied that information over here.
so it doesn't know my area.
How does she put her area, Dave?
If you click there's like a little pen icon next to the kitchen garden, and you can just change I should put the units of measurement there, but that's square feet. So
Okay. So I have 9.5 feet by 2.5 feet.
it's
Anybody?
roughly 20 square feet. I can give you the exact if you want, but
Sure. I want.
okay. So sorry, how much do you say? 18 and a half?
It's 9 feet by 2.5 feet.
Oh
Let's
yeah, so
say that.
that's 22.5 square feet.
I'll just put 22. But of course, that's if I had
238.
all at once.
So if
So
you,
how would I correct that?
so if you wanted, you could go in there, select it, and then figure out if you open up general information. So you just click on that tab. You can correct the number of plants. So you could say, maybe I want to just do this for 4 straight weeks or 8 straight weeks. So 8 times 7, like 56 plants.
Yeah, I probably should put 24.
Okay, 24.
Now
And then
what?
just click somewhere else and it'll save that. And then you'll see the space has changed. If you close
How
it.
about her timing? So her season is fall, 24
Well, you
during the
could,
fall.
yeah, it's populated your dates. You can change
Oh,
them.
so the dates are already put in. Oh, what dates did they
If
put?
you go to planting dates now and click on that, oh,
Did that work?
I don't know, it's still, it seems to be same available space.
24. This says yield per plant is 6. That'd be 1, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the size of the carrots.
Oh, that's
Probably more
ounces.
realistic that you would have
Oh, okay.
2 or 3
Yeah.
ounces. I'd say 2 ounces maybe. You know,
For
dried carrots are 6 ounces, but
6 or less.
I would say maybe 2.
Tiny carrots.
It does say small, so
Uh-huh, that's true.
okay.
Okay, and
I think
then
it just didn't take up a lot of space. I don't know if it's updating that or not.
so maybe that's a bug, Dave.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know why it's not updating that. But the other thing I wanted to, if you go back to carrots and click on carrots, and then open up click on the planting dates tab there. So it's put dates based off the planting window that it figured out. But you can change your estimates based off what you know about your climate. And then the reason why I put 2 of these things here is so that you can track when you actually planted, when you actually harvested, transplant, etc. Because whatever the averages are not as important as what actually happens, so that next year, it really took 60 days from transplant before I harvested it.
I'm really not transplanting, so
You're just direct sowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So then your expected harvest is around Thanksgiving.
Ooh, nice. Oh, and this
And
is
we don't know
It's
yet.
kind of like
Yeah.
just a log where you'd log your
oh
actual
cool.
harvest.
Cool.
And then it'll show you just a graph. And then yeah, the notes part isn't really there yet.
So I'll put the bug on the bug log for
So if you want to just go, yeah. So that's just the quick guide to the My Plants part. And then if you go to plant family, that's probably kind of neat. If you click on the area, the kitchen garden area, but the view is plant
Oh,
family. Yeah. You can see you have 2 umbellifers and 1 brassica.
Oh,
So you might want to put something like an amaranth in there as well.
I have also black seeded Simpson, iceberg lettuce.
So I'm going to put like lettuces. Actually, there's 2 other plant families that are common, Asteraceae and lamiaceae. So like a lot of flowers are in the, sorry, not, is it lamiaceae? Is mint family. But lettuce is actually in the aster family. So I think I'll put like 2 more plant families here. And then you'd see the lettuce show up here in the other one.
Okay.
But
Then what
the main
about a
thing is that you
squash?
plant, you don't want to see just like everything be an umbilifer or a brassica or whatever. Oh yeah, you have
Don't forget that page. That's a good one for GIYers. You
yeah, so
get
this is for GIYers plant prizes.
Where was that?
The
All
second one.
mixed up now. There's carrot.
oh, what I meant was on the sidebar where it says plant prizes.
I don't see it anymore. I did.
There.
Right there.
That's it.
Oh,
That's it. Yes.
okay.
Yeah. So you have 110 coins, Andrea, that you can spend on these plants, if any of those are what you need. And we'll send them to you when they are shippable.
Oh, cool.
It's kind of our new system to track redemption, if you need anything for GIY.
So tell me about walking onions.
Oh, those just arrived, right, Dave? That's what
Yeah,
came
we
in the
just
mail.
got a shipment of those. They're typically planted in the fall. So they're also called Egyptian onions. They have they get quite tall, maybe 1 or 2 feet tall. And then they're called walking onions because they don't form, like a garlic will form the bulb at the roots.
Mhm.
This actually forms a little bulb at the top of the plant. And because that weighs quite a lot, it bends the plant over and then it kind of plants itself again. So that's why it's called walking onions, because those bulbs will then plant themselves in the soil somewhere else. And then it'll continue to grow like as a perennial. So what you can harvest, the stalk itself, you can eat it like a scallion. It's kind of a mix between a garlic and a scallion in terms of taste. And then the little bulbs as well, they're kind of like mini onions. But the best thing is that it's quite low maintenance. So once you plant it, you don't really have to think that much about it.
Yeah. And for
Does
those
it-
who are,
Go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead, Andrea.
Does it need shade or sun or both?
I think you can do both. I think even like Sandy has been able to grow them in Arizona, right? Or I can't remember. I think
I'm
she
not
said-
sure.
Yeah, that might be a little extreme. But I think you can grow them pretty much like any allium. They want a little bit of water. Like no allium is going to be happy in very dry soil. But
Yeah.
aside from that, I think in terms of sun or shade, it's pretty flexible.
Well,
Cool.
was that yeah, thanks for allowing us to walk through with you, Andrea. Was that helpful?
Yes, it was very helpful. So I need to stop my screen share.
Yeah, well, from now on, you'll see some of the changes happen in Sage as Dave improves it more and more over the weeks to come. And some of those bugs that you saw, hopefully, he can fix those.
Bugs are
soon enough.
normal. When you said bug.
In the garden or in the app, right? Yeah, I'd love to see you on a check-in soon, Andrea, because I have some
I
questions
think
about your garden.
Friday.
Oh
I think
yes, that's
Friday.
right. That's right. Because I had some questions about that, about walking onions, and I can get those to you if you redeem them there this week. But I know it's past our past many of our
That's their bedtime.
bedtimes.
Past
Yes,
your bedtime.
9:09. And so I'm so grateful for you guys hopping on this call and just reviewing guilds, reviewing permaculture design and Sage with us. And if there's any other, if any other questions at all, just email us. and we'll, Dave is on this pretty much every day now.
A
So
little bit every day, yeah.
every, yeah. Oh, little baby.
It's nice to see you, Lauren.
Oh, nice to see you.
Yeah. All
Thanks
right.
for
Well, we'll say
sharing,
good night.
Sage.
Lauren, did you have any last? Hey, hello. Did you have any last
Baby.
words or anything?
Oh, hi, baby.
No, just
Hi.
just need to get on the computer and start plugging things in.
Oh, don't be too
Just an
hard on
aside,
yourself.
there was this one zucchini that I was taking pictures of. It has so many leaves. It's huge. It has flowers, but I feel like it's too late for its time, and I don't know that it will pollinate itself. But it's just a testament to the fact that fixing your soil can make such a big difference. And yeah, so
Yeah, it can. And so can the variety, because
The
get
variety
your
for
seeds.
the cucurbits, this is like a quick tip, but the the cucurbit variety is probably in our area is a huge difference maker because there's 4 different subgroups of squash.
mhm.
And the one that a lot of people want to grow, they want the big pumpkins. They're called Maxima, but they're the most disease prone. So you'll see a lot of you get a lot of growth, and you don't get any pumpkins or spores. The
Oh
one
my
that's ridiculously productive
Yeah.
is this one called Muscata. So it's basically butternut squash. They all
Yeah.
have the same shape. They're kind of elongated with a wide base.
Mhm.
They're very disease resistant and they're very productive in our climate.
I'll have to try that next time. But I'm just hopeful that, I don't know, like I was so ready to throw in the towel with just the entire garden bed, but because of, GIY and because of you guys, I'm like, there's hope for next season. And already, there were lots of things, a lot of seeds that I had planted in the spring that didn't come up because the soil was garbage. But now that it's back to cool weather, there's so many things that are popping up that just hadn't before because the soil was, stopping itself. So,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, I can't wait to see what those things are. And you may still
Yeah,
have a fall harvest. You're
exactly.
focusing on your summer harvest, and
I
it might be
know.
the fall harvest. So,
There are all these onions that I was like, oh, you're awake now. That's nice.
oh,
I
so
do.
good.
But
Okay,
anyway,
great to hear.
thank
You
you.
might need those walking onions too. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies and David. Well, have a good
Bye-bye.
night.
Good night.
And
Bye.
baby.